The official Dream Team SMP election was originally held between POG 2020 and Politicians of Gaming 2020, with incumbent President Wilbur Soot and his running mate, the incumbent Vice President TommyInnit. Swag 2020, or So We Are Gamers 2020, also ran, with Quackity and his running mate, GeorgeNotFound. Later on though, this grew to include Coconut 2020, with Fundy and his running mate Nihachu, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, and, of course, Schlatt 2020 made his debut. Obviously this was ran by Jschatt himself. On September 20th, 2020, a half rally, half debate took place at the L'Manberg Pavilion. Wilbur, Tommy, and Quackity took turns giving speeches and answering questions from people in the server. It is noted that George was unable to show up to this debate. Fundy and Nihachu took over the stage to give a speech for Coconut 2020. This began to sway both of Tommy and Wilbur's chats to sympathize with the two. Though, when the members of the server asked them if they had any endorsements from any other outside parties, they just logged off the server. Quackity brought forward KSI, but he didn't really give him a solid endorsement. Tommy managed to get an endorsement via a YouTube video from Vicstar, in an unlisted video played in stream simply titled Endorsement. Wilbur then introduced their second endorsement, with much surprise among the crowd as it turned out that Jschatt had been unbanned from the server and came to endorse POG 2020. A senile Schlatt began to endorse Coconut 2020 then, before deciding to run his own campaign, Schlatt 2020. Dream immediately endorsed him in turn and helped him chase down and try to kill running mates Wilbur, Quackity, and Tommy. While running from pursuers through Tommy's underground tunnels, Wilbur promised a compromise with Quackity while escaping. The compromise was if they wanted to combine their parties into Swag 2020, though they kinda were rushed because Dream and Schlatt were chasing them. Quackity thought about it for a second, but then decided that POG 2020 was just gonna use him in the end, and decided to combine his campaign with Schlatt's to create Swag 2020. What a horrible name. Tommy and Wilbur, accepting defeat, decided to log off together in the capital, as Schlatt and Quackity celebrated and nearly killed them over again with the help of Dream. Wilbur then read aloud the Declaration of Independence to Tommy. At the very end of the night, Call Me Carson at the last minute endorsed Swag 2020, though this probably didn't have as much effect as many think it did because it was right at the end and a lot of the votes were already in. The results of the election. Coconut 2020 had 9% of the votes. Schlatt 2020 had 16% of the votes. Swag 2020 had 30% of the votes. POG 2020 had 45% of the votes, nearly half. But, as I said earlier, Schlatt 2020 and Swag 2020 combined parties, and their combined percentage, 46%, beating POG 2020 by 1%. Wilbur gave the election results on September 22nd, 2020 at the L'Manberg podium, where he announced the winner of the election. He also noted that there were 100,000 fraudulent votes that he discredited because they all came from a similar IP address at the same time. Wilbur said all of the votes had mainly been for Coconut 2020 as well, which everyone decided to point their fingers at Fundy for trying to throw the election. Fundy began joking and saying that he didn't do it, but as we all know, that could mean that he still did it. Like I said earlier, at first it appeared POG 2020 would be the winners of the election. Swag 2020 and Schlatt 2020 combined to beat out POG 2020 by 1%. As we all know, Quackity and Schlatt then became the presidents of L'Manberg, and his first decree as president, Schlatt revoked the citizenship of both Wilbur and Tommy. You know, you gotta take out those political rivals before they do something to you. He also decreed that he would lower taxes, and L'Manberg didn't even have them in the first place. He would also fill all the fountains with Hawaiian punch so people could drink them. What a nice guy. Tubbo was then granted Secretary of the State position, much to his own confusion. Schlatt also deemed that Tubbo showed Tommy the door. Then George was named a member of Schlatt's cabinet. This would go on to spark the L'Manberg Rebellion. If you guys enjoyed, just leave a like, subscribe, obviously view the video, comment, and you know, that's all I have for now. I'll see you guys later.
I'm on the move. if you try. Coasting on now, baby, it's just me, myself, and I. Cause I'm on the move, every step is by design.